In this video, I'll be talking about why you may be experiencing chest pains on your spiritual journey. So I have another video called Spiritual Awakening, Physical Aches and Pains, and I get a lot of comments on there about people saying they're experiencing chest pains or pains in the upper back. And this is something I've also personally experienced, so I felt I would make a video on this to help people understand kind of what's going on, why they're having these pains in these sensitive areas. That can be quite worrying as well. Before we get into the video, I would just like to say that if you're new here and you're serious about your personal and spiritual transformation, I'd love to welcome you to subscribe, hit that bell notification so you can keep up to date with all of my life-changing videos. So without further ado, let's get into this one. The spiritual awakening journey and chest pain. So to begin with, I'd just like to explain the chakra system. Just a quick recap. Now, we have 7 chakras. They range from the bottom of our torso to the top of our head. The lower 3 are associated to life on earth, survival, our humanness. And the higher 3, the throat, third eye and crown, are associated to the spiritual realm and our higher self. And what we have the center, which is the heart chakra. This lies in between the lower centers and the higher centers. This center is very, very important because it transcends from the lower to the higher. It's the midpoint. Okay, and nothing can go, we can't raise our energy without going through this point. And this is why you are suffering from aches and pains in the chest. Because what the heart does is it processes emotions, especially them lower survival emotions. What tends to happen is we go through life and we have difficult experiences and traumas and negative situations, and our lower centers get blocked. They get imbalanced. As we start doing this spiritual healing work, that energy needs to be transcended to the higher centers, but it can't be transcended in its negative state. So it needs to be pulled up to the heart center, and the heart will process the emotion so it can send it to the higher levels. You could even say it converts it, because in the lower levels it's stuff like fear, anxiety, sadness, anger, jealousy, envy, guilt, these lower emotions. And like I said, in that state, it can't go to the higher levels. It's just on a whole nother frequency. So the heart needs to process this lower emotional energy, so then it can be transcended to the higher levels. And that processing done by the heart causes a lot of physical discomfort, because the emotions down there are heavy and painful and a lower frequency. And that is going to create discomfort within your being. And this can be quite worrying for some of us. But if you've been to the doctor, which is something I highly recommend you do, if you are experiencing chest pains and they can't find anything and then they give you the all clear, maybe you can start to consider that this is a possibility, because this is something that I personally experienced. One thing I will say is that if you are having aches and pains and you have no explanation for it in the chest or even the back, it shows that maybe you're doing something right. The growth and work that you're doing is actually helpful. You are processing stuff. So try not to get caught up in the worry and like anxiety. Oh my God, I've got health problems, because that's actually going to slow down this processing. You have to you can let it go and happen without worrying too much. It'll go much more smoothly. So see it as something positive. This isn't to suggest that if you're not experiencing aches and pains in the chest that you're not growing, but for some of us, we do have this experience as we process emotions. Now, I just want to share a personal story that may help some people. So I've had these aches and pains in my chest for a short while now, maybe 4 or 5 months, maybe longer, I don't quite remember. But a couple of weeks ago, I had a very, very powerful experience where I was in a deep meditation and some physical sensation just came up. It literally felt like it was in my heart, and it was heavy and it was strong and it was very overwhelming, to be honest, and I had to literally break the meditation and just get up and walk around. It was that overwhelming. And then I calmed myself down after 10 or 15 minutes and I went back into the meditation, which is probably something I should not have done. And again, I went back to the same place and this strong sensation came up again in my heart, which was again very overwhelming. And I had to break the meditation and just calm myself down again. I don't suggest you do this. I'm just like to push things a little bit too much sometimes, and I really need to stop doing that. But how I've interpreted that now is that we store and repress a lot of emotion, more than you would think. I talk to people sometimes and go, yeah, I've cleared all my stuff, and I'm a bit dubious sometimes. I still think there's a lot down there, and it's like this pressure cooker. We've been suppressing so much stuff for so long. When we start doing this work, we're opening them doors. And that stuff, in some instances, depending on how deep you go, is literally going to want to just rush up. Imagine you're holding a ball underwater and you let that ball go, it's just going to shoot up through the air. Exactly the same way, if we're not careful, too much of this trapped emotional energy is just going to come rushing up. And like I said, it's scary, it can overwhelm you, it can get you into a panic. That is not what you want, because that will actually set your growth backwards. That will put you back a couple of steps. It may even have some physical implications. So you do not want to do that. At the end of the video, I'm going to share how you stop being overwhelmed by these feelings. But just be mindful of, this is kind of what happened to me, and it was quite frightening. I felt like ringing emergency services at one point. I thought, whoa, I'm having a heart attack. That's literally how it felt. Because the emotion that was coming up was so strong, so ferocious. And these emotions have a tremendous amount of energy behind them. And this is why this part of the journey can take so long, because if you were to experience all these suppressed emotions in one go, it would literally overwhelm you. It would be too much. So it needs to be done gradually, slowly. We allow a little bit up, we process it a little bit, we keep processing it in bite-sized chunks. Think about all the things that have happened in your life, all of the experiences, all the negative experiences, all the negative emotions and feelings you've ever experienced. Imagine a lot of them have just been suppressed and pushed down. If you were to experience a lifetime of pain in one instance, it would literally blow your head off. It's too much. So that's why it needs to be done slowly and mindfully and responsibly. Some people can process more than others. That's just personal, how much you can manage, how far you're prepared to push yourself. But I don't really recommend pushing yourself too much. Just kind of just take things in your own stride. There's no hurry, there's no rush. The work you're doing is magnificent, life-changing. So just be patient with that. But we do want to process them when we can do it in a healthy way. Before I share how to do this in a healthy way, I just want to say a couple of things about the heart center, and that is, the heart is associated to love. And acknowledge that if you ever feel resentment or you get stuck in low feelings, then especially towards other people, you're potentially slowing down this process of processing these lower emotions. As hard as it may be, the more you can forgive people, kind of just let them go. And I know some people have been victims of some really bad stuff. But if you're able to just forgive whoever's done whatever, slowly, but get there, you will move through this process so much easier. Literally, there's no benefit to you in holding any resentment on anyone. The only person it's hurting is you. It's slowing your growth and development down. So if there is someone in your experience that you need to forgive, I'm not suggesting it's easy, but the sooner you can get there, the quicker you're going to start processing all of this negative stuff. So really important to understand that, because the heart is all about giving and receiving love. forgiveness is an act of love. It doesn't mean you have to go and love these people. It just means you stop letting them torture you anymore. So understand that if you are having these aches and pains, maybe there's someone you need to forgive. Maybe there's some resentment that you just need to let go of. So the final thing I want to talk about is, how do you process these emotions without getting overwhelmed by them? Well, very, very simple. This is what I do, and I stopped doing it. I used to do it a lot, and then I just stopped doing it, and now I've started to do it again because of this scary scenario that I had. And it's just to set an intention with yourself. I believe this intention, once it's set, it goes into the subconscious. The intention is simply to state, don't let me experience more than I can handle, or don't give me more than I can handle. So effectively, we're kind of regulating how much this emotion comes up. If the pain you're experiencing is too much, set this intention, don't give me more than I can handle. For my own experience, I feel like it programs my subconscious mind. So when I'm in these meditations or just out and about, when these feelings come up, they're manageable. They don't overwhelm me. They don't kind of freak me out. So just set that intention, and trust me, it works. If you set that intention with just belief of what you genuinely want, then it will do the job. It'll regulate how much it allows to come up. If you're able to get into deep meditation and access these feelings, then do that. I don't really know how I managed to do that. All I can say is I just get very, very deep, and these feelings just start to come up. Okay, so if this is something you are experiencing and you're struggling with it, try what I've said. If you haven't already, go and get checked out by a doctor to make sure there's no physical problems there as well. But yeah, that's everything that I have to talk about in this video. If you have anything to add about your own journey, maybe you have some aches and pains in your chest and you didn't know what it was, feel free to hit me up in the comments, because I do really enjoy reading them. Otherwise, as normal, if you did like the video, if you could please go ahead, give it a thumbs up, share it with your homies if you think they need to hear this message, subscribe to the channel, remember to hit the bell notification, and until next time, remember to keep living free and being free.